act like you are enough. But let's be honest, how many of us actually feel that way? How often do we doubt ourselves, question our worth, and second guess our abilities? How many times do we tell ourselves that if only we had a little more money, a little more talent, a little more support, then we'd be enough? But here's the truth: every time we fall into that trap, we sell ourselves short. We take our own power and hand it over to someone else, something else, some future version of ourselves that's better or more deserving. But what if we change that today? What if we started acting like we are enough right now, just as we are? Because let me tell you something, being enough isn't about perfection. It's not about having it all together, being the smartest in the room, or achieving some impossible standard. Being enough is simply about realizing that who you are right here, right now has worth, that you have something to give, something to share, something to create that only you can. Your self-worth is a constant. It's something that exists within you independently of your accomplishment, status, or the way others see you. This idea might seem unfamiliar at first, especially in a world that constantly tells us that our value is tied to what we do, what we own, or how well we perform. But the reality is that your worth is intrinsic. It's not something that fluctuates based on successes or setbacks. By embracing the idea that you are enough right now, you're acknowledging that your self-worth is not up for debate. It doesn't require validation or approval from anyone else, and it isn't something you have to earn. I think about how often we let outside influences dictate how we feel about ourselves. We measure ourselves against others, we chase recognition, and we hold ourselves to believing that if we could just reach a certain point, then we'd feel worthy. But these are temporary markers. They give us fleeting satisfaction, but not the deeper sense of self-acceptance that comes from recognizing that we are already complete and enough. If you can ground yourself in a sense of constant self-worth, you become resilient to the highs and lows of life because your identity isn't dependent on fluctuating external factors. It's rooted in a stable belief that your value is inherent. When you embrace the idea of self-worth as a constant, it frees you from the endless pursuit of perfection. Society often pushes us to seek perfection in everything we do, whether it's our work, our appearance, or our relationships. But the problem with chasing perfection is that it's unattainable and ever-changing. Every time you think you've reached enough, the bar shifts. By letting go of this chase, you give yourself the freedom to be real and to focus on things that genuinely matter to you. You don't have to prove yourself because you already believe that who you are and what you offer has inherent value. Another benefit of understanding your self-worth as constant is that it allows you to set boundaries without guilt. Often we feel pressured to say yes to everything, fearing that we'll disappoint others or come across as less valuable if we don't constantly make ourselves available. But when you know your worth isn't based on others' opinions, you're empowered to make decisions that are right for you. You start prioritizing your needs, your health, and your goals because you know that your value doesn't hinge on others' expectations or approval. Believing in your intrinsic self-worth also fosters resilience. Life will always throw challenges your way, that's inevitable. But when you feel that your worth is secure, you become better equipped to handle those challenges. You're not defined by failure or by others' perceptions of you, so you're less afraid to take risks or to try again after a setback. You know that whether you succeed or fail, your worth remains the same. This mindset keeps you grounded and gives you the courage to step outside of your comfort zone, pursue your dreams, and become the person you want to be without fear of judgment or rejection. When you understand your worth as a constant, you become more authentic in your relationships and interactions. Instead of trying to impress or conform, you allow yourself to show up as you are. You become less focused on gaining acceptance and more focused on sharing who you are genuinely. This authenticity creates deeper, more meaningful connections with others because people are drawn to someone who is real. They recognize the confidence and comfort that come from someone who knows they're enough, and they feel inspired to embrace their own self-worth too. When you treat your self-worth as constant, you're making a commitment to yourself that no external situation can diminish your value. You're affirming that you don't need to change or prove anything to be worthy. Instead, you can simply be. And in being yourself fully and unapologetically, you experience a deeper level of fulfillment, confidence, and freedom. Self-worth isn't something you achieve, it's something you acknowledge, nurture, and carry with you throughout life, knowing that you are enough every step of the way. Comparing ourselves to others is something we all do, often without even realizing it. But constantly measuring yourself against others can be incredibly damaging, especially when it comes to your sense of worth and fulfillment. It's tempting to believe that if someone else has achieved something or has a particular quality, it must mean that we're somehow lacking if we don't have it too. But the truth is that everyone is on their own unique journey with different goals, challenges, and timelines. Your journey is not meant to mirror anyone else's, and by constantly comparing yourself to others, you lose sight of what's important: your own progress, your own dreams, and your own growth. When we compare, it's easy to only see the highlights of someone else's life and to imagine that they have it all together. Social media, for instance, is a big part of this. We scroll through pictures and posts that only show the best parts of someone's life, the moments of achievement, beauty, and success. But what we don't see are the struggles, the self-doubt, and the setbacks. We start to believe that everyone else is living a perfect life while we're dealing with our own challenges. This kind of comparison not only distorts reality, but also undermines your confidence and self-worth. You're comparing your whole story with all its ups and downs as highlight reel. And in doing so, you end up feeling like you're always falling short, even though you're right where you're supposed to be. Focusing on your own journey means recognizing that your value doesn't come from how you measure up to others. Instead, it's about the progress you make each day toward becoming the person you want to be. Rather than looking outward, try looking inward. What are the goals you've set for yourself, and how are you working toward them? The only person you need to compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Every small step forward, every challenge you overcome, and every lesson you learn contributes to your growth. When you keep your focus on yourself, you're not competing with others, you're building a life that's true to you. One of the most freeing aspects of letting go of comparison is that you start to see other successes as inspiration rather than a threat. Instead of feeling envious, you can begin to view others' achievements as proof that great things are possible for you too. When you see someone accomplish something you admire, let it motivate you to work toward your own goals. Let their journey remind you that success is possible, but that it will look different for everyone. Their path is theirs and yours is uniquely yours. This shift in perspective also allows you to embrace your own strengths and celebrate your individuality. There are qualities, talents, and perspectives that you have that no one else can replicate. When you focus on these unique aspects of yourself, you're able to appreciate what you bring to the table rather than feeling inadequate for not being like someone else. Remember that diversity in strengths, skills, and experiences is what makes the world richer and more interesting. You don't have to be like anyone else. Your unique qualities are your assets. Another benefit of moving away from comparison is that it allows you to live in the present. Often when we're comparing ourselves to others, we're either looking at their past accomplishments or imagining some ideal future they might achieve. This mindset can cause you to overlook the present moment and the progress you're making right now. By focusing on where you are today, you can appreciate your current efforts and embrace the journey. Growth is a process, and every stage of it is valuable. When you're fully engaged in your own life, you can celebrate your small wins, learn from your setbacks, and appreciate each step forward without feeling pressured by someone else's timeline. At the end of the day, your life is your own, and the journey you're on is one of a kind. No one else can be you, and you can't be anyone else. The time you spend comparing yourself to others could instead be spent investing in your own growth, your own passions, and your own dreams. Embrace your individuality. Honor your unique path, and give yourself permission to move at your own pace. You are exactly where you're meant to be, and you are enough just as you are. Letting go of comparison doesn't mean you'll stop being inspired by others, but it does mean that you'll start living in alignment with who you truly are. And that's when the real magic happens. Celebrating small wins and recognizing progress is one of the most powerful ways to build self-confidence and maintain motivation. Often, we're conditioned to think that only big achievements count, that it's the major milestones, like promotions, degrees, or finishing a long-term project, that define success. But if we only focus on these large achievements, we overlook the small, everyday efforts that make these big moments possible. Each small step, each seemingly minor victory is a building block that contributes to the bigger picture of who you are and where you're headed. When we take time to celebrate these small wins, we're reinforcing a mindset that values progress over perfection. This perspective is crucial because it helps us appreciate the journey rather than just the destination. Life is filled with challenges, setbacks, and sometimes slow progress. In these moments, focusing on small wins keeps us motivated, even when the end goal feels distant. It reminds us that growth isn't about achieving everything all at once. It's about taking consistent, intentional steps forward. By recognizing and celebrating these small steps, we affirm that we're capable of moving toward our goals, even if it's one step at a time. Recognizing small wins also teaches us to shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance. Instead of focusing on what we lack or how far we still have to go, we learn to appreciate what we already have and the progress we're already making. Each small win represents growth, resilience, and effort, and acknowledging these victories helps us realize that we're already succeeding in meaningful ways. It also cultivates gratitude, a powerful tool for resilience and happiness. When you're grateful for the progress you're making, even if it seems small, you're more likely to continue investing in yourself and your dreams with a positive outlook. Another benefit of celebrating small wins is that it helps combat self-doubt. When we only look at the big picture, we can sometimes feel overwhelmed, thinking we'll never reach our goals or that we're not capable enough. But when you focus on small wins, you build evidence of your own competence and resilience over time. Each small victory is proof that you're capable, that you're learning, and that you're progressing. This evidence can become a powerful counter to self-doubt because it reminds you of what you've already accomplished. When faced with challenges, you can look back on these small wins as a reminder that you've overcome obstacles before and you can do it again. Celebrating progress also encourages a growth mindset. Instead of seeing success as a destination, you start to see it as a process. You recognize that each small step, whether it's learning a new skill, sticking to a habit, or facing a fear, is part of your personal growth. This mindset fosters resilience, allowing you to bounce back more easily from setbacks because you know that every effort counts. When you focus on growth rather than perfection, you become less afraid of failure and more willing to take risks, knowing that each step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goals. Celebrating small wins has a tangible impact on your mental and emotional well-being. Acknowledging small achievements releases dopamine, a feel-good neurotransmitter that reinforces positive behavior. By celebrating small wins, you're training your brain to associate progress with positive feelings, which makes you more motivated to continue. This cycle of achievement and reward keeps you energized and engaged, preventing burnout and fostering a sustainable approach to personal growth. To make celebrating small wins a habit, try setting aside time each day or week to reflect on what you've accomplished, no matter how minor it may seem. This could be as simple as making a list, journaling about a recent challenge you overcame, or even sharing a small victory with a friend. Recognize that each of these small wins contributes to your larger goals and reminds you of your own capacity to grow and improve. Celebrating small wins also helps build a compassionate relationship with yourself. Too often, we're our own harshest critics, focusing on what we didn't do well rather than acknowledging our efforts. By intentionally recognizing and valuing your progress, you're teaching yourself to see the good in your actions and to be patient with your growth. This practice of self-compassion makes the journey toward your goals more enjoyable and sustainable because you're not constantly berating yourself for what you haven't done. Instead, you're encouraging yourself to keep going, knowing that every step, no matter how small, is meaningful. In the end, small wins are not insignificant. They are the foundation of big achievements and lasting growth. By celebrating them, you create a mindset of positivity, resilience, and self-worth. You reinforce the belief that you are capable of reaching your goals, even if it takes time. So don't wait until the finish line to feel proud. Celebrate each step, each effort, and each moment of progress along the way. In doing so, you'll not only reach your goals, but also learn to appreciate the journey that got you there. The way we speak to ourselves has a profound impact on how we feel, think, and act. Often we're quick to offer support and encouragement to others, lifting them up with kind words and gentle reminders of their worth. But when it comes to ourselves, we can be harsh, critical, and unforgiving. This negative self-talk over time can take a serious toll on our self-esteem and happiness. If we want to live confidently, authentically, and with a sense of peace, we need to start treating ourselves with the same kindness and respect that we extend to others. Think about the words you use when you make a mistake or face a setback. If a friend came to you feeling defeated, you'd likely tell them not to be so hard on themselves, to keep going, and to remember all the good things about who they are. But when it's your own mistake, do you offer yourself that same understanding? Many of us, without even realizing it, default to self-criticism. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, that we should have done better, or that we'll never succeed. But this kind of self-talk isn't motivating, it's damaging. It creates a cycle where we feel unworthy. And as a result, we hold ourselves back from pursuing goals and living fully. Replacing self-criticism with self-compassion is a practice, but it's one that can transform the way you see yourself and the way you handle life's ups and downs. When you start treating yourself kindly, you begin to believe in your own worth, even when things go wrong. Self-compassion doesn't mean you ignore your mistakes or avoid taking responsibility. Instead, it's about acknowledging your imperfections while offering yourself the grace to learn and grow. When you slip up, self-compassion says, it's okay. This mistake doesn't define me. I can try again. In doing so, you create a supportive inner environment that allows you to move forward rather than staying stuck in regret or shame. One effective way to shift to more compassionate self-talk is to imagine yourself speaking to a friend. When you're feeling down on yourself, pause and consider how you would respond if someone you care about were feeling the same way. The words you'd use for them, words of encouragement, understanding, and reassurance, are the same ones you deserve. Just because the voice is in your own head doesn't mean it should be harsh or punitive. In fact, the kinder you are to yourself, the more resilient and confident you become. Knowing you have your own support, you're better equipped to face challenges because you're no longer afraid of your own judgment. Self-kindness also allows you to appreciate your efforts and achievements rather than only focusing on where you think you fall short. Celebrating the things you're proud of, no matter how small, reinforces a positive self-image. This doesn't mean ignoring areas where you want to improve, but it means balancing constructive criticism with recognition of your strengths. When you speak kindly to yourself, you start to see all that you're capable of and all the progress you're making. Self-kindness is a way of affirming that you are enough as you are, and that growth doesn't require self-punishment. Cultivating a respectful inner voice doesn't happen overnight, especially if negative self-talk has been a habit. One way to develop self-compassion is through daily affirmations. Start each day by reminding yourself of your worth, your resilience, and your strengths. These affirmations can be as simple as I am worthy, I am enough, or I can handle what comes my way over time. These positive affirmations can become part of your default mindset, helping you build a foundation of self-respect. Journaling can also be a helpful practice in shifting your self-talk. Writing down your thoughts allows you to see patterns and identify where you're being overly critical. In your journal, practice reframing those critical thoughts. If you write, I can't believe I failed at that, try reframing it to, I tried my best and I learned something valuable for next time. This kind of conscious rephrasing builds a habit of kindness and can help replace critical thoughts with ones that are constructive and supportive. The benefits of treating yourself with kindness are immense. When you speak kindly to yourself, you feel more at peace, more confident, and better able to handle whatever life brings. You start to believe in your own value, not because of what you achieve, but because you understand that you are worthy as you are. You become less fearful of failure because you know you won't tear yourself down if things don't go perfectly. Instead, you'll pick yourself up, learn, and keep moving forward. Speaking kindly to yourself is a powerful way to build a sense of worth that isn't tied to external success or others' opinions. It's an act of self-love that reminds you every day that you are enough just as you are. By making a habit of kindness in your self-talk, you nurture a foundation of confidence, resilience, and peace that will support you throughout your life. In our pursuit of self-acceptance, one of the most freeing shifts we can make is to move our focus from perfection to authenticity. Perfection is a moving target, an ever-elusive standard that no one can ever truly meet. Trying to be perfect is exhausting and often leaves us feeling inadequate, as there will always be some ideal just out of reach. But when we shift our focus from trying to be perfect to striving to be authentic, we allow ourselves to show up fully as who we are. Authenticity isn't about getting everything right, it's about being true to ourselves and embracing our uniqueness, flaws included. When you aim to be authentic rather than perfect, you release yourself from the pressure of constantly trying to fit into societal expectations or to live up to unrealistic standards. We live in a world that often emphasizes image, appearance, and success as measures of worth. But the truth is, the most fulfilling life is not one lived according to others' expectations, but one that aligns with our own values, interests, and aspirations. Being authentic means recognizing what matters most to you personally, even if it doesn't align with what others think you should value. By following your own compass, you start living in alignment with who you truly are, which leads to a more meaningful and satisfying life. Choosing authenticity also involves embracing your imperfections. Perfectionism often tells us that we need to hide our flaws or smooth over the parts of ourselves we think others might judge. But in doing so, we cut ourselves off from our humanity and our unique perspective. Imperfections aren't signs of weakness, they're evidence of our individuality and growth. When we show up authentically, we let go of the need to hide our mistakes or pretend we have it all together. This willingness to be real fosters genuine connections with others, as people are naturally drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves. They see your courage in embracing your imperfections, and it gives them permission to do the same. For living authentically also builds resilience. When we seek perfection, every failure feels like a confirmation that we aren't good enough. But when we accept ourselves as we are, including our missteps, we become more resilient to setbacks. We understand that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process, not a measure of our worth. By focusing on authenticity, we develop a growth mindset where challenges and failures are viewed as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than as reflections of our identity. This perspective gives us the courage to take risks and to pursue goals that truly matter to us without fear of judgment. Another important aspect of authenticity is allowing your emotions to be fully felt and expressed. Often, in the pursuit of perfection, we suppress emotions we think are negative, like sadness, frustration, or vulnerability. But hiding these feelings only disconnects us from our true selves. Authenticity means honoring your emotions and letting yourself experience them openly, knowing that they're an important part of who you are. This honesty with yourself can lead to greater emotional health and self-understanding, as you're no longer trying to fit your emotions into a perfect mold. Focusing on authenticity over perfection is also a form of self-compassion. When you accept yourself fully, flaws and all, you're showing yourself the kindness and acceptance we all deserve. Self-compassion means being gentle with yourself when things don't go as planned and understanding that you're human, just like everyone else. Instead of demanding perfection from yourself, you acknowledge your efforts and your growth. This compassionate mindset makes the journey of self-improvement much more fulfilling, as you're no longer pursuing impossible standards, but rather nurturing your true self. The beauty of authenticity is that it allows you to share your unique gifts with the world. No one else has your combination of experiences, perspectives, and talents. When you stop striving to be perfect and start being real, you give yourself permission to explore your passions, express your creativity, and contribute in ways that are uniquely yours. This shift from perfection to authenticity opens the door to a more fulfilling life where you can pursue goals that truly resonate with you and live in a way that feels honest and enriching. In the end, authenticity is about showing up as your whole self without hiding behind masks or trying to meet an impossible standard. It's about celebrating who you are right here and now with all your strengths and imperfections. This approach not only makes you more compassionate toward yourself, but also allows you to connect more deeply with others as they see your real, unfiltered self. When you embrace authenticity, you free yourself from the heavy burden of perfectionism and start living with a sense of freedom, purpose, and joy. So let go of the need to be perfect and choose instead to be genuinely, beautifully, unapologetically you. Embracing the idea that you are enough, just as you are, is a transformative mindset that has the power to shift how you view yourself and the world around you. In a society that often emphasizes achievement, appearance, and constant improvement, it can be difficult to believe that you are inherently valuable without needing to prove it. But the truth is, your worth is not tied to your accomplishments, your appearance, or any external validation. You are enough simply because you exist. And this belief is the foundation for living a life of peace, contentment, and fulfillment. When we accept the idea that we are enough, we stop measuring our worth based on other standards. We cease to look for validation from external sources, whether it's from social media, our careers, or the opinions of others, and instead find our value within ourselves. This shift in perspective frees us from the constant need to prove ourselves or compare ourselves to others. When you truly believe that you are enough, you stop looking for external markers of worth because you've already recognized that your value comes from within. This doesn't mean that you stop striving for goals or self-improvement, but it does mean that your worth isn't conditional on meeting a set of expectations that are imposed by the outside world. Another key aspect of believing that you are enough is learning to let go of the idea that you need to be perfect. Perfectionism often stems from the belief that if we aren't perfect, we are somehow flawed or unworthy. We may feel the need to constantly improve, constantly do more, or constantly achieve as if this will somehow prove that we are enough. But perfection is an illusion. There's no such thing as flawless, and striving for it often leads to burnout, frustration, and a sense of inadequacy. Instead, embracing the idea that you are enough allows you to release the pressure to be perfect and instead focus on growth and progress. You understand that you don't need to be flawless to be worthy, and that your worth is inherent, not dependent on perfection. Believing that you are enough also allows you to embrace your flaws and imperfections. Everyone has weaknesses, struggles, and challenges. No one is exempt from the difficulties of life. Rather than viewing your flaws as shortcomings, accepting that you are enough means seeing them as part of your humanity. These imperfections don't diminish your value. In fact, they often make you more relatable and compassionate toward others. When you accept your own imperfections, you give yourself permission to be human. You no longer need to hide behind the facts of perfection or live in fear of judgment. You are free to be authentic, to make mistakes, and to learn and grow from your experiences without feeling like you're falling short. This mindset also fosters self-compassion. When you accept that you are enough, you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when you face setbacks or challenges. Instead of being your own harshest critic, you become your own greatest supporter. Self-compassion is about acknowledging that you are human, that you are doing the best you can, and that it's okay to make mistakes. This compassionate approach to yourself helps to reduce anxiety and fear of failure, because you know that even when things don't go as planned, you are still enough. You are not defined by your mistakes or failures, but by the person you are at your core. This self-compassionate approach allows you to bounce back more quickly from setbacks and move forward with a sense of self-assurance and resilience. Believing that you are enough also leads to greater peace and contentment. When we constantly strive to prove ourselves or gain the approval of others, we can become exhausted and disconnected from ourselves. There's always the sense that we need to do more, be more, or achieve more to feel worthy. But when you accept that you are enough, you release the need for constant validation and instead find peace in who you already are. You no longer feel the pressure to constantly measure up or compete with others because you know that you are valuable just as you are. This inner peace is incredibly liberating as it allows you to live authentically and pursue your goals with a sense of purpose and joy, not because you need to prove something, but because they align with who you truly are. When you accept that you are enough, you are able to build healthier relationships. When you don't feel the need to constantly prove your worth or seek validation from others, you can engage with others in a more genuine and relaxed way. You stop depending on others' approval for your sense of self-worth and instead show up as your true self. This creates space for deeper, more meaningful connections where you're loved and valued for who you are, not for what you can do or achieve. Your relationships become more authentic and fulfilling because they are rooted in mutual respect and understanding. In conclusion, embracing the belief that you are enough is a life-changing mindset that brings inner peace, authenticity, and self-compassion. It allows you to release the pressures of perfectionism, to embrace your flaws and imperfections, and to find value within yourself rather than seeking it from external sources. When you truly believe you are enough, you free yourself from the need for constant validation and open the door to living a life of fulfillment and contentment. You are worthy just as you are, and accepting this truth is the key to living a life of true self-love and acceptance.